meeting back into order. Item number 10, district engineer's report. You better have a good one about a lot of rain. You were talking something else.
We give them 3.5 feet, Robert, and they complain.
Man, went the wrong direction.
Well, we'll talk about it. But the first thing I want to tell you just is a new project that we just to let you guys know about that's going on. And I think Mr. Reyes talked to you last time. We don't have these pictures are a month old, but since then the boundary started completing this area. This is the area over by the interstate and the Montoya drain, the power plant, El Paso Electric power plant in the Upper Valley, on doing that. And one of the big issues, of course, is this huge amount of sediment that's accumulated at the outlet of the drain, plugging the drain. And they are trying to remove it now, but this picture was taken in late December. And so you can see that for the first time in many years, we're starting to get quite a bit of return flow still this late into the season, which helps, of course, keep the river wet and should make our efficiency next year a little higher. But they're having the negative side of that is that trying to remove mud is a lot less efficient than trying to remove sand. So they're mucking it right now, so I don't know how much they'll actually get removed. We had estimated that about 250,000 yards needed to be removed within this 1 mile reach. I don't think we're gonna get that much with the way, since 2/3 of it's water now.
They're taking it.
They're putting it on the side, so when it floods, it'll come back in.
They've actually, for the sheriff's posse, in town,
Yeah.
they put a lot of it in there,
Put some there, yeah.
around their back end where they've got the stables and all that stuff.
Mhm.
They put some actually the sheriff's posse has taken a bunch of it. But the rest, they're just piling up on the right bank.
Wow.
And,
We're trying to get permission from the El Paso Stormwater to put it over here in this Losky area, but we haven't gotten there yet.
Is that one of their reservoirs or one of their places?
No, that was private land. They just acquired it last year for environmental.
For a reason, no?
For environment. Well, they were looking at it to make a flood storage reservoir out of it. But now we understand they're gonna make a environmental offset area. So we thought, well, if you're not gonna dig it out, they were gonna dig it out and make it a pond. If you're gonna make another real bosque, which is what they're proposing, I think, then maybe we can use it for a sand area to contour it and fill in. If they can elevate, one of the problems with that area is that's at the groundwater, but you can see the areas up here. So that's, let me go right here, that's where the water surface, the groundwater surface and the land surface meet. That's why it's white there. So that's got, you need to actually put fill to get enough for the vegetation to grow above that sand layer. So having 2 to 4 feet of fill in an area would be beneficial if you're gonna use it for trying to grow something.
That's where that water's so absolutely horrendously salty, because it's a dead end
For the whole project, yeah. And there's geothermal flows at this location too, so some of the salt it comes up from geological.
What are they planning on planting there? I mean, that looks like what it probably always looked like right there.
Right, well, no, it'd be like the Rio Bosque. I don't know what they plant there, tornillo and mesquite and cottonwoods. You're not gonna grow any cottonwoods in that salt. So, you might be able
Not
to
gonna
grow
grow
tornillo.
anything in that.
Salt grows.
What's right there now?
Yeah. But if they wanted to restore it, so anyways, our point would be that, hey, with all that sediment that's in that area, it'd make it a lot nice if we could use that if the boundary could use that. But they are working in that area. But having said that, I think one thing you guys can see, and I've shown you the historical photos too, is that 15 years ago, it was never this way. It had always been cleaned on a regular basis, and we get these islands.
The next question, when was
So-
the last time it was?
Who did it, IBWC?
Yeah, it's been at least about 15, maybe 20 years. I can look at the schedules, but
They're in charge of everything all the way up to the dam.
all the way up to
Wow.
Caballo.
That's what they're supposed to take care of, and you can see what they do.
And the reason for that is because that has to do with the flooding in Juarez. It's a flood 1939. The Caballo Reservoir was actually built to alleviate flooding in Juarez.
To produce electricity.
Well, there is an ad option for a power plant there, but it was never built.
No, I mean for produce use it more often, more regularly up in the.
Yeah, that's the benefit the reclamation got out of it as a regulating reservoir, but the congressional act was for a flood, for its primary storage is flood, to keep, people in the sea and, down
There's
in,
a big draw that come in from the
Yeah.
back range.
from up above that, we there was a big flood in the forties. So, you guys said, just to, something that we've talked about many times, and I'm not gonna go into detail now, but, we're working with EPCWID and the city stormwater to assess the risk, to the project, to our facilities that we operate, own, and work, and then EPCWID and the city has a joint use. We use them for both stormwater and for agricultural drainage, and that committee is formed now, and I think it's working pretty well, so we expect to have the joint committee for evaluation of flood risk. But right now, the only area we're studying is between Interstate 10 and Las Cruces to American Dam, which is near this location.
IBWC part of that too?
No, I mean, this is just an internal group that we're trying to get our data and our stuff together as far as our equipment at risk. I think after we get the preliminary draft out, then we'll try to get reclamation and IBWC to participate. But, we spent the last 10 years, is that right, Judy, trying to get resolution going
For them to clean it.
independently.
When John Bernal, the commissioner, all that stuff started with you there.
Right, yeah. That's when they stopped playing it.
He was, in 20 years.
It's been a long time. He was an environmentalist from Arizona.
It looked, the data we're collecting and showing, it looked in pretty good shape up to about 2001. And it looked like 96 might have been the last time they cleaned some of these sections. So 96 to 2001, we don't see much. Right after 2001, we start seeing accumulation, and then of course, it's exponential. Once the vegetation grows, it traps more sediment. And so anyways, we have lots of discussions on that and with the board over the last 10 years, and we finally, I guess, more out of just trying to figure out what can we do, we felt we better just document it and have a written report from a joint committee that can be used for future negotiations on.
Of course, without it stopping right there, it ends up in the All-American Canal and then ultimately in our system.
We're trying to send it to Hudspeth County is our goal, but we haven't had enough water to do that, have we, Robert? So, and there's some issues with the drought causing some of this too, because when we had more conveyance, but believe me, there's plenty of sediment down in Hudspeth County, so.
Oh, no, all the way down.
And they haven't, there's only one solution to it, and that's either stop it or two, you need to do both, stop it at where it comes from, and all those sediment, there's hundreds, maybe as many as 500 small, we call them SCS at the time, they're NRCS now, range sediment ponds, little stock ponds that were done to catch the sediment on small arroyos before they got into the big arroyos. All of those were built in the 50s and early 60s. Every single one of them is full to capacity, if not already washed out, and none of them have been rebuilt, none of them have ever been cleaned. So the sediment yield is now very high back into the system, and then we stopped cleaning the river too.
They built all those things too, that they were only flood control, and there wasn't any way to get the water out of them for beneficial use.
Right, well, most of them real small, in size of 1 to 10 acres.
Let me tell you what, it would have still been beneficial if it had been 1/2 an inch in some of those places.
Well, most of the water up there is 2/3 sediment, 1/3 water, so.
No, I'm talking about down in Hudspeth County.
Oh, yeah, those are.
The riverbed down there is higher than the surrounding land.
Yeah, it is in our.
It is here too?
Yeah, oh yeah, it's way higher right there.
Well, here, yeah.
Yeah, without levees, the river's gonna just move over through the subdivisions, so.
It will one of these days anyway.
The lowest structure any place is in Montoya, and that's where it meets grade right here. This is where the two join, and so if the levees were to breach upstream towards Anthony, they'll all go to Montoya. It's the lowest structure, it's much lower than the river in some parts. But it works as a drain, that's what a drain does, drains water.
The potential for a breach and the condition that river is now is greatly increased from what it used to be.
And that's what the goal of the committee is, to develop a fairly brief expert opinion paper that says how much greater it is. sort of documents what's gone on, public records, and uses, I think it's Phil King, Jeff Irvin, and myself are on that. And then-
What does the bounty commission do?
Well, they have a lot, they have,
What do they, I mean, what? They don't do the things they're supposed to with it.
well, they're starting to finally, they're
They
starting to.
did hire a good maintenance guy, head maintenance guy. Tony Solo retired, and this gentleman was with PSB, so he knows the problems, and at least we've got his ear, where they brought a special crew from Presidio to clean this area from where the Montoya drains out to the river to the American Dam, and they've been trying, they've been
But I'm
challenged with the
But I'm
water.
wondering, over the years, the 22 years that they haven't cleaned it, what it sounds like to me, what do they do, the
Yeah.
agency, I mean,
Yeah.
and they got a huge staff.
The sad thing is that, I don't know what's happened, remember they used to have equipment all over the place?
Yeah.
They don't have,
That's why, they shut down the yards pretty much.
So what are the intentions never to
they called us
do this
in,
again?
about 3 months ago, they wanted to borrow the D8, and I said, told
No
Jay,
way.
no, I said, we just put $75,000 into it, no.
Like I say, I'm just wondering what their function is, if it's not. the
Well,
big-
well, they have a huge amount of activities. I mean, since they go all the way to Brownsville and all the way to Tijuana.
Yeah.
And so one of the really big ones that consumes a lot more of their time than they expected is, they operate those joint sewage treatment plants in Mexicali, Nogales, and Tijuana especially, because a lot of people don't realize that from here west, all the rivers flow out of Mexico into us. And usually, they're not, I guess it's calling them a river is an exaggeration there, an affluent discharge point.
Now, do they have a legal obligation to get in?
We haven't done any constitutional research other than just basically looking at some of the acts. When they came about, I'm sure there's some discretion, as we know, within the executive branch. That they can interpret it however they want to interpret it. We feel they do, but we've worked with them over the 10 years, and I think we've worked in DC, as you guys know, to try to get appropriations earmark time. We got them quite a bit of money, and then some even after that, which was more difficult. But getting it directed, getting it approved and appropriated is very difficult, and then getting it implemented is even more, right, Jude?
Yeah.
Getting it funded and implemented.
So this is sort of this committee was formed out of trying for the three entities to better understand what risk we're at.
I can tell you the risk is, without engineering, it's, I don't know how many fold what it used to be. Just think of all the asphalt that's in the area now that wasn't there before. That's all runoff, that's wasn't runoff before. If you have a huge rain event in that upper valley, you're gonna flood.
Yeah,
And and you can get at some of those, in these rainfall events that we've been having all over the dang world, it's just been tremendous. We get one of those from El Paso to Las Cruces, and I'm telling you what.
it'll be worse than the 206.
Oh, yeah, it's gonna flood everything, everything. The 206 was a small area, just because it came off of that mountain so fast. You have a mountain like that, there ain't no way to prevent it from flooding under certain conditions. I mean, you got too much fall, too much.
I don't know how, we're not gonna get a lot into the economics, but I imagine, the biggest issue here, and in the most river systems that you guys know, is when you have what's called coincidental flooding. That means when we're in flood stage at the reservoirs, which we've been numerous times in the last 100 years. So it's not like it's not like something that doesn't happen. I know the reservoir's been empty for a while, but we've had 3 major events where we went into mandatory reservoir releases, or else we'd lose the reservoirs for years. I mean, the one in 82, was it, or 84? Well, 2 years straight we had flood. So you go to flood stage by the reservoir, which is someplace around 5,000 CFS, maybe 4,000, depending on the flood in the reservoir. We can't handle that.
No.
And so then you bring a coincidental, which would be a 2006 flood on top of it while it's in flood, and the damage to downtown El Paso, to Mesilla Valley, to Juarez is probably gonna be
The whole
similar to
valley.
Katrina, and similar to Harvey.
What I say is,
In terms, not quite as bad as Harvey, because we don't have as many people in the floodplain as they do in Houston, but it's gonna be, what does go in the floodplain is gonna go
When
in.
Mississippi flooded that time after many years ago, they blamed that on the Corps of Engineers not maintaining those levees down there.
So that's why we're doing those reports. Well, we're not gonna get that far into it, but we're gonna look at when the levees would overtop and what type of scenarios it would.
It's whatever.
I got a feeling that the return period, we'll have to just see what the experts say and what the data is, but our gut feeling is that it's, even from talking to Phil and to Jeff about it, is that we're probably very naive about how short that return period is. In other words, that even if we only have a 10% probability of it happening in any year, that's a huge, for flooding, that's a huge risk to take.
You know when it's gonna get fixed? After the fact. After the fact, like anything else.
Well, we're trying to get it fixed before.
I know, you've been trying for 20-something years, so keep trying, you never know, but.
Well, the first thing, I gotta find a place to put the sediment, right?
Yeah.
So if anybody wants any sand in Upper Valley. Okay, on to the water. I'll let Robert do this. We're pretty much holding steady. We did get I send out my snow reports, you guys, you get them. It's pretty disappointing.
No snow report.
No snow reports, but it did snow last night, and so this last storm was about 22 inches.
So the last 5 days, actually, we've got snow every day.
Yeah, big event was 17 on one night, and then it was 22 total, snow, not water. So there's at least a little activity. You know, as I told you last month, is that the biggest problem is we are seeing activity at the upper elevations, but where most of the water comes is more in the 6,000 to 10,000, but not at the 10,000 to 11,000. So it's good skiing, but it's not good watershed conditions. We are seeing antecedent moisture conditions in the watershed decreasing every day too for lack of rainfall. We do have some forecasted events here for the next couple of days, so that's good. Having said that, our water's in storage, and so we're still at 3.5. We still anticipate to go to 4 in March.
Well, we've over 500,000 now, so.
Yeah, we're getting inflows. And they transferred some water late in December, and we're still, surprisingly, still some of that's draining out. So our inflows aren't bad. It was transferred from Avenue or one of the other reservoirs that was owned under the compact. So that's the good news, is we have some residual from last year to hopefully make it through this year, and maybe next year it'll snow like that. Hopefully maybe the rest of this year will snow, we'll see. It's the high pressure and you can pretty much look at it. Historically, when we've had the jet stream follow on a big arc from Seattle through Phoenix and down over to us, we've gotten precipitation events every 11 to 14 days. That's, a pattern that I grew up under, and we've held to for many, many years. You winter people, from trying to get our field ready. We've now gone to where we've had a high pressure for almost 3 months, and very little moisture in the winter. So that high pressure needs to break, and the jet stream needs to reestablish.
Well, as far as the allotment, you'll have a real good handle on what crops are planted. And looking at the trees, by the time you want to increase the allotment. Whether or not we can do it.
And you tell them that Mexico's gonna come on board with it though?
Well, we haven't got that in the minutes. It's not official yet. They
Okay.
anticipated that, but they did that once before to us, and they didn't come on. But we do anticipate that they'll come on, so that'll help. We won't have as much river obligations.
No, I'm just saying, we know how many crops are out there, we know what our obligations are, and that makes you.
Do you have any indication, I'm sure there's still a lot of crop preparation, but I guess you won't really know that number until the orders.
Well, as a, right now, we got 15,000 acres ordered, and that's just the beginning. And 7
That's what I
acres.
say, I think you're gonna see more acres planted this year, so,
Yeah.
but you'll have a handle on it after the first irrigation. It won't be 100%, but it'll be close.
Yeah, we have that discussion every time. I think we're holding that number 37,000. It was
Yeah.
35 last year, 500.
It
We
came
upped
up a
it.
little bit last year, to about
Yeah.
37.5.
So do you think it needs to go over 37.5?
No, I don't know, I'm just saying, I don't have any idea, but we'll know. But the point is that once you have that first order completed, then that Robert will have a good feel for what is gonna really be there. So I don't have any idea.
These photographs that we got from December, from late December, good or not, but I don't think everybody's got their fields prepped that early. We could actually tell who's, if any listing's gone on, or at least what's been
No,
going on.
none of December, no.
Yeah, I think it's too early in December, and we won't get any of this quality photographs until later in the year. But satellite images we're getting right now can't resolve field preparation. This is the resolution isn't high enough. Anything else, Judy, on this?
Yeah, I can't think of it.
Third party construction.
Sorry if I can get on that. I just have to stop casting. Stop. And I guess we have to change, where's the control? Always missing it. It's right there. It's under your book.
Yeah, it's one at 100.
It's on one, isn't it?
I think so.
Was working just fine a minute ago. So the signal,
What are you gonna put the mowers in Riverside?
about two. We only have four. They're putting too many ports on these things. All right, guess we should write it down. I don't think it's three. It's either one or four. May not be given it one. I'm pretty sure it's one, we've had it working. All right, we'll just talk to it. I'll work on it while you're talking to it, Jay. You can just verbally explain it, or I can show it.
So Fabens,
You want to do it off this?
yeah, it's on. Fabens, the bridges are completed, for the project. We've been running water for approximately, I guess, 2 weeks now. Through the drain and the Riverside Canal extension. They are doing some final touch-ups on the approach from Fabens, as you leave, before you get to the bridge. They're just finishing that up. And I see some of the photos here, but, so everything was going well there in that particular project, and February 28th is the anticipated date for finishing up the railings and all the, it's just incidentals that come with the project, but the structures and the pavement and, everything's essentially completed.
This is Pete's stuff. You don't want Pete's stuff.
No, I have probably do it.
Well, I'm working on, let's find out. Let's everything, not that fast.
Let me see, Mike.
No, we're good. So you want your power line, so, there we go. I don't know, whatever came up.
Where you gonna sit down?
Yeah, so yeah, that's looking towards Fabens, and you can see that's, as you leave SCI 243. These were last week. That's what they're working on today. That's actually this morning. So right there next to the tire shop, they're just need to finish that. They're gonna put some black hot mix on that at River Street. So you see the structures. That's the river drain outlet. Everything's flowing pretty well underneath it. And that is the Riverside Canal extension. That's the first one as you leave Haven, so the water, we've got the effluent flowing down there, looking really well. This is Act 243 box culvert. This is where we turn off, I guess, to Larry Madrid's house. This was a couple weeks ago. They were pouring the driveways. Couple of forming. So there's the other end of it. So all those are completed. Looks really well. We've got some driveways. This is the Franklin Canal downtown at the heading. So this is the tail end where we passed Delta, so we moved up to the other project, the Franklin Canal heading. The contractor is essentially finished, pretty much about 80% of the work. This is the downstream end, the transition, where we come out of the box culverts. And the 2/3 of the box culvert has been completed, the downstream 2/3, and backfilled. So they poured this one last week, that's the first third, and the heading is up there in the top left, the connection to the existing box. So they poured that last week, and they are forming the walls now. So the last third of the walls, that was yesterday. They're gonna pour these tomorrow and finish the box. As you can see, up at the top of the photo there is a heading. So there was some problems with the fiber optic company. They wouldn't let them work near the fiber optic. But that's the heading, the American Canal is at the top of the photo there, and but everything is going well. So they installed the shoring, and now we're gonna make the transition from the new box culverts to the existing box culverts that are underneath the railroad and the fiber optic. But they asked for a 2-week extension on this, which would be the end of the month. But everything seems to be, the fiber optic was the problem, they couldn't touch it and move them, and they've been relocated, and everything, the schedule they provided is on track. And those are the two major ones. Old Waco Tanks is completed. The contractors should have been open January 16th. The East Lake extension from I-10 to North Loop. They had to go back and repair some of the paving deficiencies.
They're gonna be through in time?
These guys, yes, they got an accelerated schedule.
2/3 of it's done is all?
Uh,
Like a third of it?
They're pouring the walls on the last section tomorrow, and they're using high early strength concrete, so which they'll be able to remove forms within 2 days, and then pour the ceiling of that box on Monday, probably Tuesday next week, and then start forming the connection to the existing culvert. So they've got a schedule for March.
Little tight.
March, yes.
We had met with them, Al, Jay, and myself, and we had told them we've got till March 15th. We had talked to Robert about it, till March 15th, but they've come back and they said at the latest, March 7th.
March 7th, and they're actually accelerated right now.
But they know water will be here.
They're well aware.
Yeah.
Fiber optic wouldn't let them work. They had a moratorium from December 15th to January 15th, that they could not work within 15, 20 feet of the fiber optic, which is where the heading is. So, but all that's been resolved, and they've been relocated, and we're working with fiber optic company to explore some other licenses that we need from them as well. So, but no, they brought some new crews and additional crews, so they've got an accelerated schedule, and everything's looking on track, so that's good.
Yeah, I don't know.
Weather will be-
This is part of the expansion, the road, is it the 275?
Yes, this is Border Highway
Yes.
West. This particular project came about due to the request or agreement between the city of El Paso and Union Pacific and TxDOT. So TxDOT has a Border Highway West. The city of El Paso, the railroad asked to put an overpass on Delta over the railroad. That was at grade, so in order to put the overpass, the beams were in the flow path of the Franklin Canal. So they asked if they could put it, well, what we suggested is they could put it in box culverts, and then they could just fill without having to put the beams. All this because the railroad wants a bridge, they don't wanna have to stop for traffic on Delta, so.
So this is just side traffic, it's just,
Yeah, it was a spur, it's a
Side
spur
tracks.
coming out of Mexico, and, so, yeah, it's been in the works, but, yeah, it's all part of the Border Highway West extension.
So by March first, if you don't see the trend going in the direction that they're gonna make it, what's
yeah,
our,
we could-
what's our enforcement strategy?
We had whenever they missed their deadline, which they did miss in this case, we implemented a fairly drastic letter that we sent to them. And we'd be glad to show it to you, but Judy can vouch that I'm not the nicest guy in the world.
Well, what I'm saying is
A
that.
connection, at that point, we'll shotcrete and do a connection from the existing box to the new boxes and forego the actual
Underground part.
transition that was designed, we'll just do an
An
open,
emergency repair.
open channel and shotcrete and get it ready for water, so that's the, if
What if?
does not follow schedule, but no, everything, so yeah, there's a
They
plan
have
in
about a
place.
month to finish it, they said.
They'll finish it.
No, they've been, yeah, and they moved to, they're using 6,000 PSI concrete, highly strength, so they're.
Yeah, we really don't care if fiber optic delayed them or whatever.
Right. No, no, of course not.
That's their problem.
But, that was the excuse, and that's what it was.
Anyways, the project is,
We're good.
is under, we had it under control, under license agreement control, we executed those clauses. They paid for the damages, we evacuate them in time, we did, Mr. Ray was involved, we made the agreement that it looked like they could achieve the necessary thing, with the people that are causing the trouble have been removed from the process.
Good.
I'm not gonna mention their name right now, we're dealing directly with a subcontractor, and it's working. We have a lot of confidence in the subcontractor, he said they're doing very good work.
And actually, the TxDOT engineer has been great to work with also.
Yeah, and so there was one group that wasn't performing, and they've been notified, and that's why we do those licenses. And Pete loves that, because when he's
Pete, you
swamped.
ready to jump in, buddy?
I'm ready.
Hey, we know how to do what they're doing, right? I'm ready. That's all I need to hear.
It's just what he needs. He says, yeah, 2 weeks before we start running water, for me to pull him and say, you gotta go over your shotcrete, 150 feet of canal. But we brought Pete in and we went over contingencies, and everything's working. They're doing a much better job. We do have long-term issues in here. I did, one of the things we requested at the start of this process was for TxDOT to resolve easement issues. Why was that fiber optic line there? We have letters going back 6 months asking for them to be resolved. They didn't resolve those. I resolved them last week. Took me 3 days, right? You own all of that. They're trespassing on our property. They've been very good. It's L3, and
I
we
can
called.
imagine your letter, huh?
Yeah, well, L3, we have a good relationship with L3, who owns the fiber line, so once we got involved, they had it resolved within 24 hours and moved it. There's no issues. Railroad was a little less reluctant, but they've come right on board once they found out that we own that property, not them, we predate them. They have a fairly strong easement for the area, but only for their activities to the extent they don't interfere with ours. They have some trespass issues too. We're gonna resolve those after this. Their which just showed up right before this job. Of course, these things always happen. So we have a 100-foot easement between this outlet, this existing outlet that we're trying to replace right now, and our inlet over here. So we own a 100-foot easement across this area, and those tracks are on top of it.
10 foot wide.
100 feet wide and whatever, 200 feet long. Well, we own, our deed, that is deeded to us. It is a deed. We have a deed. We were there first. And they have let's put it this way, for over this area, they received an easement from the federal government to put the tracks there because of relationship to what happened during the Chamazal settlement and land moves. And so prior to Chamazal, that was all ours unencumbered. It became encumbered by the federal government for the purposes of those tracks only. But things like placing the fiber optics and other communication and power lines outside of their easement, I think their easement's 55 feet out of our 100-foot by that. So it's 55 by 100, yeah. And we're not having any issues in their easement. They're actually, all these issues are occurring outside the railroad's easement on our deeded property. So it's a very complicated area to work with on the deeds, because the land has changed hands many times. But we chased ours all the way back to 1856 as our original deed there.
Now, part of the agreement that the contractor has with us, Are they providing a certified as-built conditions toward the end of the project to
There's-
survey, stamp, all that good stuff?
TxDOT is the one that has the easement here. And all these easements for the construction, not the railroad issues. TxDOT got those from Reclamation, and they got them as perpetual easements. So and our deed, the act of Congress that gave us, that binds us to those perpetual easements. So they are performing to the T and the perpetual easements. Perpetual easements don't require them to, we requested that they do that. They have agreed to, we're doing some warranty work on it that we added to it to make sure it doesn't leak at the joint. That's our main concern. So far, we've had an observer out there almost every day.
Right.
And we're very impressed with the work that's been done.
They haven't deviated from the approved plans at all. Everything we verified.
But they still have to certify it,
No,
that they did it to the, whatever.
They have been constructing with design, we're gonna do a small minor detail on the transition, but, you know, that'll be, what's already noted and everything.
But we really deal with TxDOT on it.
You know, they put it in the right place, all this stuff is coming.
You also have to understand that adjacent to us on both sides, that for whatever reason, the United States deeded property on both sides of our, well, actually part of our deed, they gave away part of our deed to the, it was their deed at the time, so they had the right to give away again to TxDOT into the city. So we are burdened by a lot of activity in this area from the border highway and from the Chamasal thing, and a lot of legal documents, and it's been we had to go back to, fortunately, this particular spot, we didn't have to go back to the King of Spain, but we might have. It was getting close to that, in terms of who had the right to own that property after the war with Mexico was over. But anyways, I think as complicated as it may be, I think everything's going well now.
Yeah, plus we have daily documentation, photographs, and documentation on what the work that's being done. To make
It's a
sure-
good project for us. It should solve a lot of Robert's problems, right?
Let's hope so.
At least for that first 200, 400 feet, right? We do plan upstream, we have 2 more obstructions upstream with the railroad, and we started the discussions. We own that property, they have expired licenses, I believe, so they have licenses that have expired for this crossing here. And, you know, they haven't produced anything as yet that shows that they renewed those licenses. They may have, and we don't have copies, because again, it was done with Reclamation. And then this one here, both of those box culverts cause us quite a bit of trouble, cause Pete and Robert. So those will be scheduled for replacement next year, so as we continue this project on. And we'll line the sections between these box culverts with shotcrete next year. So it's other than this little bump that we have with a delay, a 2-week, 3-week delay.
And that's one of the areas that Pete removed about 4 feet of sand to reshape, redig. And the challenge was getting in and out of there is the big challenge.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Wow, impressive.
All right, engineers.
That's it from me, and Jay. Do you have any questions? We got some licenses, are you good?
No, Pete's ready. Yeah, Pete's next.
That was the only question I had, are you through?
That was a yes or no, right?
Yes.
Preferably, yes, right?
So we got the last one, that's.
Pete's on.
Road, all right. Pete's Road is on.
Good morning. Well, as we continue with the drain work, we still got all 3 mowers out there mowing drains, and right now we pretty much got all the excavators removing all the debris that we're cutting. With the exception of course, if I need it at one of the projects, I'll pull it and then I'll take it right back. But we're still hitting the drains pretty hard. Go to the next one, Jay. And then this is part of the pipeline project where we had to go in there and shotcrete 3 different canals, which is a Riverside, and then 2 different sections in the Franklin. So far, we've poured about 900 feet of shotcrete, including all 3 of the locations. This is here on the Franklin. There's one on the Niger Valley checks and one on the Webb checks. This one here is just right upstream from the Niger Valley checks. And what we did is we went ahead and tied into the checks on both structures. And here you just kind of see what goes with this shotcrete. But these guys are getting, every day they get much better in that shotcrete. I mean, These guys that I got shooting are really impressing me. And that's already with water in it. Robert put water in the Franklin last week, Monday. And that's one of the sites that we shotcreted.
That's the return flow that's coming out of the upper valley, Robert, and.
Now, this is just coming from Delta and Bustamante, Johnny, because
Blackwater.
their return flow from the upper valley, the American Canal is out of order right now. They're still working on it.
And this here is the, I believe I showed you guys the picture last month on the Mesa drain where it goes under the Clinton lateral. So we had to demolition the Clinton lateral, completely remove it in order to replace this pipe. There was about 140 feet of pipe that was installed. And this project here, we're in just the cleanup process of it. It's been completed. And here are just a couple of pictures of, again.
So is that 3 excavators, synchronized excavators, is that that's a competition in Las Vegas, right? That's what you're trying to say.
Here comes the crane request again.
Now I want 2 cranes.
And here you'll see where we've covered the Clint. This is the section that was completely removed. So we went in there, we just compacted the canal, and then we reshaped it, came back, reshaped it, and reformed it, and then again poured it. And then, like I said, this project's been completed also, so it's ready for water. So whenever Robert wants to put water in, it's ready to go. That's actually what it looks like when we're done, but like I said, we're still doing the cleanup on the ditch banks and so on and so forth. This is up here on the Franklin Canal where we'll be doing about 3,000 feet of shotcrete. This is that textile project that Mr. Reyes and now Jay were talking about. And then some of the obstacles that we run into, you know, they're doing construction on the roadway, trying to do what they gotta do, and I'm trying to still reshape the canal, but we got it done. Repacking the banks, of course, we got the paddle foot roller out there also. Plenty of water, a lot of grain, just takes a lot of work. This canal here, we closed it, we closed the bottom, I guess something about 4 to 5 feet. We narrowed the bottom to try to speed up the water, and there's a couple of pictures here of what it looks like now, and it's ready for shotcrete. This section here from Presa to Carnes is ready for shotcrete. You can see the black liner up above, waiting on panels to come in. Hopefully they'll be in tomorrow. We'll start laying panels, and we'll get started with shotcrete. Some of the manual prep work that we have to do to some of our, this is the heading of the Lowenstein, where the shotcrete we kind of have to bring it into that heading, and we do have a couple of turnouts. That bend you see there, the reason you see that is that's the old flume checks structure. That check will be removed here probably next year, because I really doubt it we'll have a chance to do it this year. But that's the Franklin Canal, that's the right back to the Franklin, right in front of Pavo Real, the park, library. Go ahead. These are the check structures. You're gonna see 2 of these pictures that kind of look the same, but one is the flume checks, the other one is the Lowenstein. I have 2 crews working on these checks. And here we're just prepping for concrete on the floor. These project, or I mean this project here is we'll be pouring walls on Tuesday, and the check structure will be completed. All we have to do is go back and install gates. This is what's going on right now, all the form work, and so we can pour the walls. We went from a 4-bay check structure to a 3-bay structure, check structure. The 2 in gates will have motorized gates with the sliding gates that go inside the rails. The center one will be a manual gate in case of an emergency. That's the Lowenstein checks. That's the gates right by Walmart. So right now, most of my concentration is on this right here. Most of my people is there. We are still doing some prep work up at the Upper Franklin, where the extension of the border highway extension is going on. We're still doing some prep work up there, because I'm hoping I can shotcrete this area too before water starts. Robert's already pretty much told me I had to do it, so. So, you better make sure we do this, and then Al, I believe, said also that he needed this done, so.
Well, we got a contingency, if we can't get it done, it will survive. There's some high erosion in this area, but there's also existing, right now, we have, reclamation years ago installed two slurry walls on both sides of this, so it's somewhat, stable, we're not gonna lose a bank or anything. So we have some seepage, we'd like to get rid of it.
But I'm hoping to shotcrete
Yeah,
it, because we've
Part of
already
it's already done,
Yeah, we've done all the earthwork on it, and we've narrowed the channel and everything else, and
ready to go.
one season of water will destroy the section of canal that we've already worked on. So I'm really hoping to get this done, and, just the ends will be temporary. So when they go in there and remove those, railroad crossings, we can go back and cut, and then we can continue with our shotcrete from that location.
Just there, they had a water line, the reason there's water, this picture's from December, but the reason there's water in there, they had a water line.
Yeah, there's a
Hydro compaction.
That was supposed to be kept on last year.
high pressure water line there, and it sits pretty high.
And so the part that he has, that he's talking about is coming up to this culvert and finishing it out. And part of it's actually already lined. We're not really sure why that's lying there, but I'm sure there's a history. It predates us.
But that section there, I am gonna narrow it also. If you